Hello everyone, my name is Anthony Shivkumar and welcome back. In today's video, I want to talk about TOF, which is a time of flight sensor from ST. The one that I'll be using is the VL53L8CX, and I'll be trying to interface that with the nrf53. So in today's video, we'll walk through the code of how to interface it. I'm using SPI. I tried using I2C and I ran into a couple of problems, but SPI seems to work very well. And once we walk through the code, we'll also be able to see what kind of applications the TOF can serve in a drone application. So let's get started. So first off, let's understand and let's talk about, what exactly is a time of flight sensor. A time of flight sensor basically measures the time it takes for a photon to travel to an object and back to the sensor. So this allows an accurately determine the distance to an object, so it can be incredibly useful where you want precise distance measurement. So the VL53L8CX, which I have over here from ST Electronics, is got 8x8 multi-zone. It's a range sensing device, as we just described earlier, and it's able to perform very well even under ambient light and reduce power consumption. It has many features. I will be putting down the link to the data sheets and this and the TOF in the description below. Here we have a zoom close-up of the ST VL53L8CX. Now this particular sensor, you can configure it using SPI and I2C. There are pins for both of them. And it also needs a couple of voltage levels. For example, it needs the 5 volts, 1.8 volts, and 3.3 volts. Here you can have either SPI or I2C, and you can select whether you're using SPI or I2C by toggling one of these pins. Whether it's high, it'll be SPI, low, it'll be I2C. And here you have a couple of GPIO input-output pins and ground. So this is basically the sensor right over here. This is when you buy the development board, it comes with basically these two kind of boards, which is perforated in the middle. You can technically break them apart, but this is where all the powering and and voltage conversion is happening. And here's the sensor. It's a very small sensor, but it's capable of performing pretty well and reliably. So now let's go and have a walkthrough of the code. So in this repository that I have a source folder, and inside my source folder I have my drivers for PWM and SPI, and here I have my sensors. I have my barometric pressure sensor, which I spoke about a little earlier, the power meter, the SIVA IMU, and here I have the TOF ST VL53L8. Now in the libraries that they provide by ST, they have two versions of them. One is the ULD driver 1.2.1 and the 2.2.0, the MZ1. But in this particular example, we use the L8CX, which is basically the sensor that we're using right now. I've created two files over here. In this particular file, where I describe the header file, the header file has got some high-level examples where I can poll for distance and measurements. I've taken examples from the driver itself, and the C file is basically an implementation that is specific to the nrf53 basically. So here I'm setting up I'm using SPI. I am toggling the pins to the right set so that it uses SPI. These are enabling the power, and then from here on, I'm setting up my SPI, basically my CS pin and the mode in which the VL53 can operate. When we go to the main file, I have a thread called the VL53L8, and the VL53L8 is calling the VL53 thread, and this thread is there in the TOFC file over here. And here we are basically setting up the pin configuration, and once we start, you have something called as VLC86 alive, which is just a very simple program that's basically probing for a certain amount of bytes, and if you receive that information, the system seems to be working well. But here is where the real complexity arises, because in here the C8 INIT is where I was struggling to get the I2C working, is because they have a whole firmware that is downloaded during INIT. So while we do, there's a thing called forward, the firmware that is downloaded, and this is a lot of data. At least in binary format, it's a lot of data. And here is the data. So in the VLC86 underscore buffers, this is the data, and you can see on the right how big the information is. This is a big data file, and it's approximately around 21,000 lines of code. but that's the firmware, and that firmware is downloaded in that particular file. So from that particular file. So in here, when we do the command.c, we are processing some of the commands. And sorry, not here. Where is this? This is in the TOFC. We go to the INIT file, which is given by ST Microelectronics. They have given us all the firmware, but to make this work for the nrf53, because most of the code is compatible with only their microcontrollers, not with nrf53, this was basically the setup. I'm going to basically push this code to GitHub so you can have a look if you want to get the TOFs working with the nrf53. And once you have the SPI working, it just works beautifully. So I'm going to get started and show you how it works. The code, for the most part, it's kind of like self-explanatory. It's all about setting up the right parameters. There's not really much to show other than because all the code is already provided by ST. The main goal is trying to interface it with nrf53, and it's all about structuring the project in a way that works and also utilizing the SPI protocol. There's one thing that I do want to mention though. So actually, once we set up the SPI, in here I have to set the frequency to 5 megahertz, and apparently only with 5 megahertz or above it works. So it needs a certain speed in order for it to work. So that's one of the changes that you need to be cautious about, is that if anything below that, it doesn't work. Anything above it, it works pretty well. So in here I have a basic setup with all the SPI connections, and as you can see, you can't see this with your normal eye because this is an ultraviolet light, but you can see it flashing. The camera that's recording this is able to capture this ultraviolet light, and this basically is pulsing, and the way it's pulsing is basically hitting a substance or hitting a surface, and it's reflecting back, and the reflection time between when it's pulsed and when it's received the reflection it's calculating the depth. Basically it's somewhat like a LiDAR sensor, but it's the time of flight sensor. And now what we'll do is we'll try to measure the output after we compile the code. So here I have the sensor running over here, and in here I have going to connect it to the nrf53 over here, and when I connect to the port, you will notice that when I have nothing over here, it measures the distance. And I'm going to put my hand approximately around a few centimeters above, and you'll see now it says that it's 2 centimeters above because I'm pretty close to it. And as I increase, you can see now it's 6 centimeters above, and it's 9 centimeters above, so it's around 10 centimeters, 8 centimeters above. And as I keep moving above, it's now around 16 centimeters above, and I got a pretty high elevation. And if I move my hand, now you'll see different numbers everywhere because there'll be a mic over here. It's hitting, I think it hits a distance of at least 2 meters. So wherever the light, and it's hitting 8x8 zones, so it's 8x8 is 64, so it's hitting 64 points, and based on how fast the reflection and it's able to measure the time, the zones basically will give you the distance. So it's giving us a depth map of my surrounding basically from upwards. But if I want to completely cover it, it'll automatically show me the distance of how far my hand is to the sensor, because I'm pretty much covering all the regions, and the 8x8 is pretty much hitting only my hand. But as I move above and above and above, you can see that the light basically, the 8x8 zone increases. And at this point in time, when my hand is really highly above, the angle of where the light is traveling, will be beyond my palm. So yeah, so that's how the time of flight sensor works. It's basically a depth map, if you want to call it, but with this you can measure many things. You can measure position, you can measure stability. By this particular information, there are a lot of things you can process so that you can increase the dynamic systems of the drone, and you can also measure the position. If you wanted to land in a very specific spot, with a specific elevation, you can also measure the height from the ground. You can also measure, get a depth map of the nearby surroundings, especially in a room or a closed environment that doesn't have GPS access, or it doesn't even have where other sensors may not be the best at it. In a low light setting, the wall is too close or something of that sort, the time of flight sensor can be extremely invaluable. So yeah, that's all that I have for today. So that's pretty much the time of flight sensor. It's a very versatile sensor. It's easy to interface with the nrf53. It's once you get the code working, it actually is very reliable, and that's the cool part about the sensor. A lot of the firmware has already been provided to you by ST, and all you got to do is interface it and then use it with your dynamic system, depth mapping, different applications that might be appropriate for your use case. And until next time, do take care, and See you next time.